You know, in the vast world of horror, some movies don't just tell a story, they completely redefine a genre. They strip away everything you thought you knew, tear down the cliches, and leave you with something raw, terrifying, and just impossible to forget. That's precisely the case with 30 Days of Night. This isn't just another vampire flick, it's a relentless, brutal masterclass in sustained dread, a cinematic experience that's going to grab you and simply refuse to let go. We're going to peel back the layers of this incredible film, not to give anything away, but to really show you the ingenious ways it achieves its power. I think by the end, you'll agree it absolutely deserves a spot on your must-watch list. So get ready to rediscover how true terror can thrive in perpetual darkness, as we dig into why 30 Days of Night isn't just a vampire movie, but a brutal masterpiece you seriously need to see. Our story kicks off in Barrow, Alaska, a place that's already extreme by nature. This isn't just some random backdrop, it's practically a character in itself, perfectly setting the stage for the horrors about to unfold. Barrow's about to be plunged into a whole month of continuous night, a real-life phenomenon that completely cuts it off from the rest of the world. This unique premise, the 30 Days of Night, is honestly the film's first stroke of genius. It strips away all the usual vulnerabilities of nocturnal predators and turns perpetual darkness into their ultimate hunting ground. Think about it. There's no sun for them to hide from, no dawn to bring even a brief break. The very environment becomes an accomplice to the terror, trapping everyone in an inescapable nightmare. This concept alone introduces a level of existential dread that few horror films manage, turning the setting itself into a primary antagonist. The vast, empty snow and ice aren't just scenery, they're an extension of the prison walls, making any thought of escape feel utterly futile. It's claustrophobia on a global scale, where the world outside seems to simply forget you exist. Now imagine the sheer psychological impact of that. It's not just the biting cold, it's the mental chill of knowing that for an entire month, the sun just isn't coming up. This natural event relentlessly amps up the claustrophobia and helplessness long before any monsters even show their faces. The sense of foreboding isn't just about the vampires, it's about the place itself turning into a prison, a vast frozen expanse with absolutely nowhere to run or hide. Every passing hour of darkness just adds to a growing despair, a feeling that any hope is being slowly extinguished along with the light. This constant, unyielding darkness becomes a character in its own right, slowly chipping away at the survivors' sanity, pushing them to their breaking point simply through its oppressive presence. This meticulous setup creates a profound sense of isolation. Barrow is literally cut off, no flights, no easy communication. That just cranks up the stakes, making every desperate struggle for survival feel agonizingly real. The film absolutely nails this atmosphere of dread, making sure you feel just as trapped and vulnerable as the characters. It's a perfect example of how a setting can be just as terrifying as any monster, transforming a quiet, everyday town into a crucible of pure, inescapable despair. You're not just watching a horror movie, you're experiencing a true descent into environmental horror, where the elements actively conspire with the predators, creating a suffocating sense of doom. From the very first moments of Eternal Night, there's no escaping the long dark. Seriously, forget everything you thought you knew about vampires. 30 Days of Night doesn't just feature vampires, it completely redefines them. This film strips away every bit of romance, every ounce of sophistication, and every hint of humanity that's crept into vampire stories for decades. It just brings them back as primal, feral predators, creatures driven by nothing but pure, unfiltered hunger. There's no moral ambiguity, no tragic backstory, just a terrifying, singular purpose of consumption that makes your skin crawl. This isn't about forbidden love or gothic tragedy. It's about pure, undiluted monster horror that hits you in the gut. Their design alone is pure nightmare fuel. Gaunt, unnerving figures with hollow, shark-like eyes that seem to absorb all light, rows of jagged, unsettling teeth, and a complexion that just screams death and decay. They move with this unnatural, almost animalistic grace, a brutal efficiency that screams apex predator. There's no brooding sensuality here, no moral quandaries, just a chilling, single-minded pursuit of their prey. Every visual detail, from their elongated fingers to their predatory posture, is designed to elicit maximum discomfort and fear, making them genuinely unsettling to behold. They are a force of nature, devoid of anything resembling human emotion, and that makes them incredibly effective. What truly sets them apart, though, is how they communicate. They speak in this guttural, ancient language, a series of clicks, snarls, and raspy whispers that are both creepy and totally alien. This completely dehumanizes them, really hammering home their monstrous nature. It's like they're not fallen humans, but something else entirely, an ancient force of consumption with zero empathy or understanding of human suffering. This lack of verbal communication, as we know it, makes them even more inscrutable and terrifying, completely cutting off any possibility of reasoning or appeal, leaving the survivors with no common ground, only pure primal fear. You can't negotiate with these things. Their attacks, swift, precise, and horrifyingly effective. They operate with this terrifying coordination, moving as a brutal unified force, often overwhelming their victims with sheer numbers and brutal efficiency. The movie really focuses on their relentless hunt, their strategic intelligence as predators, and the sheer terror they unleash, rather than just lingering on individual acts of violence. This redefinition alone makes the film an absolute must-watch for anyone who's tired of the same old vampire tropes, offering a truly frightening, uncompromising vision of what these creatures really could be, stripped bare of all their romanticized mythology. They're a relentless, intelligent, and utterly terrifying force you wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley or a dark town. Once the vampires arrive, 30 Days of Night just transforms into a masterclass in relentless tension and pure survival horror. This isn't a movie with quiet lulls or moments of artificial relief. It's a constant, suffocating siege that absolutely never lets up. The small, isolated town becomes this terrifying chessboard, with the few remaining survivors desperately scrambling for any tiny advantage, constantly under the watchful, predatory gaze of their attackers. The dread is palpable, building layer by agonizing layer as the days of darkness stretch on, making every passing moment feel like an eternity. The real genius here is how the film understands psychological pressure. It's not just the immediate danger of getting caught, but the agonizing realization that no help is coming, that civilization itself is miles away and totally oblivious. The supplies running low, the brutal freezing temperatures, and the constant chilling presence of these predators outside just create an unbearable weight of despair. Every little creak, every shadow, every distant sound becomes a sign of doom, cranking up the tension to agonizing levels that will leave you on edge. The film plays on fundamental human fears, isolation, helplessness, and the slow erosion of hope, forcing you to truly feel the characters' predicament. The characters are just regular people, pushed to their absolute limits. Their fight for survival isn't about incredible superhero feats, but about desperate, often messy attempts to stay alive against impossible odds. This grounded approach makes their situation incredibly relatable, and the terror even more potent. You'll feel every desperate decision, every close call, every moment of sheer panic right there with them as their numbers dwindle and hope begins to fade, cornered and with nowhere to go. There's a raw honesty to their struggle that makes the film's horror truly resonate, showing what ordinary people are capable of when pushed to the brink. The film perfectly uses its confined setting to its advantage, hiding in attics, sneaking through snow-filled streets under cover of darkness. Every single move is fraught with danger. The idea of being trapped in your own small town, now a death trap, creates this profound sense of claustrophobia that bleeds into every frame. It's a psychological assault just as much as a physical one, guaranteeing you're held in a state of gripping dread from beginning to end, watching their desperate struggle unfold with no easy answers in sight. The film is a masterclass in maintaining unbearable suspense, forcing you to confront the very real possibility of utter hopelessness. And that's a truly powerful thing in horror. Beyond its chilling premise and terrifying creatures, 30 Days of Night is a truly visually stunning film, perfectly using its unique setting to create an unforgettable look. The cinematography is just masterful, turning the bleak Alaskan landscape into a canvas for pure horror. The stark contrast of the pristine white snow against that oppressive, endless darkness creates a haunting beauty that just amplifies the film's chilling vibe, often leaving you feeling isolated just by the visuals alone. Every frame is meticulously composed to enhance the feeling of desolation and lurking danger, making the setting truly feel like a character. The use of color, especially red, is super deliberate and impactful. When blood inevitably hits that pure white backdrop, it's not just violence, it's almost an artistic declaration of terror that seriously cranks up the film's visceral punch. Every splash, every stain feels emphasized, contributing to the movie's unflinching commitment to its brutal reality. it doesn't shy away from the horrific consequences of the vampire attacks, delivering sequences that are raw, impactful, and definitely designed to make you flinch, but always serving that relentless tension, making sure the horror is felt, not just seen. The visual brutality is never gratuitous. It's always meaningful and effective in conveying the stakes and the sheer savagery of the threat. Director David Slade, you might know him from Hard Candy or Hannibal, brings this sharp, almost graphic novel-esque visual style to the film, which makes sense given its comic book roots. The action sequences are dynamic, often using incredible practical effects that make every fight feel grounded and agonizingly real. The camera work is tight and intense, pulling you right into the chaos and fear of the characters, ensuring that every tense moment and desperate struggle hits hard. It's a visual feast of dread, proving that horror can be both beautiful and profoundly disturbing. The artistry behind the fear is consistently impressive, showing how much thought went into making every shot count. From the eerie glow of the permanent night to those intense close-ups that capture the raw fear on the characters' faces, every visual choice in 30 Days of Night is meticulously crafted to boost the horror and really immerse you in its world. It's a film that looks as good as it feels terrifying, proving that effective horror relies just as much on atmosphere and visual storytelling as it does on its monsters. You'll be consistently impressed by how the film uses its visual language to deepen the terror, making every single frame count and leaving a lasting impression long after you've watched it. So, why should you really watch 30 Days of Night? Because it's way more than just a horror movie. It's a masterclass in environmental dread, chilling creature design, and relentless tension. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones that shed all humanity, and the most horrifying scenarios are those where escaping just isn't an option. It's a film that doesn't just entertain, it fundamentally unnerves in the best way possible. This film boldly redefines a classic monster, throwing it into a unique, inescapable situation that pushes human endurance to its absolute breaking point. It's a chilling, visceral experience that's going to burrow deep into your mind, leaving you with a lasting sense of unease long after the screen fades to black. It's an unyielding onslaught of dread that respects your intelligence while pushing your emotional and psychological limits. If you're hunting for a horror movie that's genuinely terrifying, that offers a fresh and brutal take on a familiar legend, and that delivers a relentless, suspenseful ride from beginning to end, then 30 Days of Night is exactly what you need. It's not just good, it's a vital piece of modern horror that absolutely changed the game for how we perceive vampires and survival horror, a true standout in the genre. It's a stark, compelling, and utterly unforgettable journey into the heart of darkness, both literal and metaphorical. Go watch it, just maybe leave a light on or two. If you found this deep dive valuable, please consider subscribing for more cinematic dissections. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.